According to Forbes in 2022, the most valuable teams in the NBA are the New York Knicks, the Golden State Warriors, followed by the Los Angeles Lakers. What this means is that when it comes to building a team, they should all be on an even level and there shouldn't be any handicaps, at least where finances are concerned. But with that being said, let's take a quick look at how each of them did in the past 10 years. The Knicks made the playoffs twice, got eliminated once in the second round and once in the first round. The Lakers, on the other hand, made the playoffs 3 times in the last 10 years. Twice they were eliminated in the first round, and once they won the championship. Then comes the Warriors, who made the playoffs 8 times, made the finals 6 times, and won 4 championships. Now, these are just 3 of the teams in the NBA. Some teams like the Celtics and the Heat have also done well in the last 10 years. But some teams, like the Sacramento Kings, have forgotten what the word playoffs even mean. I mean, the Sacramento Kings haven't been to the playoffs in 16 years. Sheesh, guys. Anyways, it got me thinking about how, what, and why the Warriors are such a championship organization, whereas some other organizations are just, well, basketball teams. I want to first start off this video talking about sports ownership. It might seem like every NBA owner is a billionaire who has the experience and ability to build world-class organizations, but that's just not true. I mean, look at what Donald Sterling did to the Clippers back in 2014. First, he almost nixed the JJ Redick trade when he said, "You know, I think that's too much money for a white guy. I don't want to make that trade." Then upon hearing those words, Doc Rivers almost quit the Clippers when he was only about a week into the job. Soon afterwards came the whole fiasco involving TMZ and his insensitive racial remarks. This caused a ton of disconnect within the Clippers organization, and you can bet this affected their on-court performance. Next up, there are some other owners who just make bad decisions, like Ted Stepien, for example. Now, for those of you who don't know who Ted is, he was the owner of the Cavaliers for 3 years in the early 1980s. During his tenure, he traded away 5 top 11 draft picks. 4 of them went to the Mavericks, which built them into a contender during the 80s, and the 5th pick was the number 1 overall in 1982, which turned into James Worthy, who helped the Lakers build their dynasty. In those 3 years, the Cavaliers won a total of 49 games, swapped head coaches 5 times, and because of all the draft picks they traded away, the team didn't exactly have a promising future. Well, after running the organization literally into the ground, Ted sold the team. And it was at this time that the NBA created the Stepien rule, which prevented teams from being without first-round picks in consecutive drafts. Sheesh, guys. Any one of us could have been a better owner than those 2 guys. Anyway, next off, let's take a look at the ownership of the Warriors, Joe Lacob. This dude fell in love with the game of basketball when, as a kid, he stood onto a hardwood court. He lives and breathes Warrior basketball and is very involved with the organization. I mean, he does everything he can to help his team win, including spending the most money on his roster, joining the NBA's competition committee to understand how other coaches and GMs think, hiring great people in every level of the organization, which includes Bob Myers, who won GM of the Year twice, and when Steph Curry passes Wilt Chamberlain for the most points scored in Warriors history. He even treated Draymond and Steph to a bottle of Lattache, which goes around $4,000 or $5,000. Now, that seems like an owner that players would want to play for, and is a huge reason why the Warriors have had the success they've had. Anyway, next off, let's go to another reason why the Warriors are a championship organization, and that's by having a superstar who has a championship mindset. The NBA is filled with superstars these days. I mean, Russell Westbrook in his MVP year was a beast. Carmelo was a superstar when he was in his prime with the Knicks. LeBron has always been a beast. Kawhi is a quiet cyborg, and the list goes on. None of them are quite like Steph Curry, though. I mean, Russell Westbrook is notoriously known for stuffing the staff sheet at the expense of winning. Carmelo was known to get jealous of teammates who have more success than he does. LeBron yells at practically all his teammates. And Kawhi Leonard, despite being one of the best players in the NBA, isn't a leader. I mean, he was allowed special treatment with the Clippers, which eventually led to chemistry issues, which eventually led to the Clippers losing a 3-1 series lead against the Denver Nuggets back in the 2020 bubble. Steph Curry, on the other hand, has his teammates saying things like this about him. He's a great leader, he's always positive, he doesn't get mad at you. He might correct you on some things. Steph's method is perfect. He's just so balanced that you never feel like, damn, I f***ed up. Damn, is Steph going to be mad at me? It makes you want to get on board with that guy. I told Steph at the beginning of the season, I got you. Whatever you need, I'll run through a wall for you. His championship mindset is just different from other superstars. I mean, in addition to how he runs his team, he's always getting better as a player. Let's take defense, for example. When Steph first entered the league, he wasn't the best defensive guard in the league. In fact, when the Cavaliers battled the Warriors in 2016, they ran all their offensive sets at Curry, and Kyrie even hit that game winner on him. In 2022, however, now you have reporters saying this to Curry.
Hey, Steph, being the two-way player that you are, on both ends, when you...
The reporter literally just called Steph a two-way player, and for good reasons. He's not the best defender in today's NBA, but he's improved a ton. Then compare him to someone like Russell Westbrook, for example. Believe it or not, Westbrook was known for playing defensive back in college. In fact, he won a Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year back in 2008, and in his draft profile, it literally says, really excels defensively and has a chance to develop into a great defender. But then in the NBA, with all the athleticism that Westbrook possesses, he's never made any all-defensive teams and is generally known to be a ghost on the defensive end of the court. Anyway, what I wanted to point out here is that although other superstars are also extremely talented at basketball, there's usually something about them that can shake the team, and in many cases, that's the difference between winning or losing. Next off here, I want to touch upon the fact that the Warriors have a balanced team. I heard an interview with Bob Myers once where he talked about his philosophy on acquiring players. He was saying that at times there were better players he could have acquired for the team, but because of the fit, he decided on acquiring a lesser skilled player, but who was a better overall fit for the team. I think the 2022 Lakers is a prime example of a team that sacrificed fit for quote-unquote talent. I'm going to bring this back to Russell Westbrook for a second. Despite whatever is said about him, he's an insane basketball player. I mean, a triple-double machine, an MVP award, 2 scoring titles, 2 assist leader awards, a 9-time All-Star, a 9-time selection to the All-NBA team. Hate him or love him, you can't deny that Westbrook has talent. But, in saying that, I have no idea what LeBron was thinking when he traded for an insufficient ball-dominant guard who can't space the floor and refuses to play defense. That was literally the complete opposite of what the Lakers needed. Anyway, last off here, I want to touch upon coaching. Because in addition to ownership, in addition to superstars and the roster in general, the Warriors have great coaching. If you follow a lot of the great teams like the Warriors with Kerr, the Bucks with Budenholzer, the Spurs with Popovich, it might seem like all coaches are the same, but that couldn't be any further from the truth. I'll use George Karl as a prime example. He may have won Coach of the Year at one point in his career, but man, once upon a time, he also went to war with his own star player, DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, I'm not sure where and how exactly they bumped heads, but Karl tried to get him traded, which then led Cousins to tweeting that there's a snake in the grass. Then following that, several other high-profile players such as Andre Iguodala, Carmelo Anthony, J.R. Smith, and Ty Lawson, who all played for Karl back when he was coaching in Denver, also chimed in with the snakes in the grass tweet. But on the other hand, the Warriors head coach, Steve Kerr, has his players talking about him like this.
I'm going to go Michael Jordan, and I won't play for another coach besides Steve.
The point I'm trying to make here is that some coaches in the league foster a championship culture where it's fun to go to work every day, whereas some coaches in the league create, well, toxic environments. So, from top to bottom in the organization, from players 1 through 15 on the roster, everyone is on the same page. I think this quote by Matt Barnes to Draymond Green sums it up perfectly. What blew me away the most is, you've only been on that team so you don't know no different. But I've been on teams where once practice is over, the gym is empty. I went to this team and it's like, I had to wait to get on the court because all 8 hoops, everybody's working. It was Clay on one end, it was KD and Steph on one end, and it was Draymond somewhere, it was Looney and the younger dude somewhere, it was Iggy somewhere. So I would have to sit sometimes 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, just to get my normal routine off. Ladies and gentlemen, and that's why the Warriors are a championship organization within the league and have a good chance to become one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history.